Davenport.
Davenport. I did know that. Sorry, sir.
Let's see if we can change that by the end of this little chat. Mr Speaker, there's something strange and deeply concerning occurring in the city of Onkaparinga. What it involves is grassroots sporting organisations being actively prevented by council from applying for state government facilities funding grants. Let's just read that back. Council does not want clubs applying for funding from the state and is using its position as the landowner to prevent it from occurring. Now, curiously, this appears to be a unique problem for the clubs and facilities in my seat of Davenport. Elsewhere in the council, clubs are encouraged to apply. They are just being denied the opportunity in my area. We even have a situation where previous written support and permission from council for a funding application for unisex change rooms at the Happy Valley Sports Park has now been reneged upon. Council has then sought to claim that there is no evidence of that support. When copies of that written support has been pointed to, the council has described that as, quote, unfortunate, end quote. In a completely separate situation, the Hub Gymnastics Club has proposed an application for a 50% contribution to a kinder gym extension to a council facility, the other 50% of which the club would fund itself, the club. Despite being asked for no money, the council did not want to support the proposal and eventually constructed a series of conditions designed to achieve just that. I have hundreds of women and children denied an opportunity to use safe, compliant change rooms facilities at the Happy Valley Sports Park. I have hundreds at the Valley Vikings Netball Club who are forced to play their home games at Meadows because their council will not just not support an application for funding a few courts, they will not permit an application. I have 600 members of the Hub Gymnastics Club who are prepared to put their hand in their own pocket to enhance the facility they lease from council so as to provide childcare and thereby enhance and grow the club, effectively prevented from doing so. I'm hearing terms used to describe the council's action in this case as immoral. Council takes 3 years to approve a drop-in change room facility at the Flagstaff Hill Community Centre and 1 year to approve building a coach's box at that ground, whilst around the corner Telstra can get approval to build a mobile phone tower in 9 months, despite residents in the area objecting. Frustration with this council is not new. In my newsletter of winter 2019, I pointed out how we need reform, how from 1997 to 2019 my rates for my home with Onkaparinga increased 152% versus an inflation rate across the same period of 69%. Rates increases of over double the rate of inflation have been a hallmark of the council since it was formed by a merger of the Happy Valley, Wollonga and Wollonga councils in 1997. In 1998, Dipty reported and provided a justification of that merger on the basis that staff numbers had dropped for the 3 councils from 550 staff in aggregate in 1997 to 515 in June of 1998. As at the 30th of June 2020, Onkaparinga now employs 803 people, which is a 60% increase on the 500 council staff started with just over 20 years ago. The tale of the tape continues with the rates comparison against the Marion City Council, where a $540,000 home will cost $322 more in Onkaparinga every year in rates than the same home in Marion. Another example is the assessment by the final inquiry report in the Hallett Cove joint venture prepared by the South Australian Local Government Boundaries Commission. It detailed how the same block of vacant land would generate $4,000 in rates for Marion, whereas if that land was in the Onkaparinga Council area, the rates on that same piece of property would be $9,000. Easily the most galling part, Mr Speaker, is the fact that of the recent $9.4 million capital works funding contribution made by the federal government to council, only $830,000 or 9% was spent in the area which will comprise my seat of Davenport, and yet that area has, according to council, 19% of the rateable homes in the council area. 19% of the ratepayers getting 9% of the funding. That equates at $134 million a year. In rates, that equates to about $1 million a month heading south from my community. My community deserves better. The volunteers at my sporting clubs deserve better. The vast majority of the people at the council are great, and that's why, notwithstanding that, Mr Speaker, it's time to replace the landlord. That's why I'm pleased to announce the launch of the Glenthorne Council. There'll be plenty of details to come. It's going to be a community focused on parks and lifestyle, sweeping from the hills down through to Hallett Cove. It'll have 55,000 people, sensible rate structures and responsibly locally accountable.